What if the next battlefield is not land, sea, air, or space, but your attention? Your phone buzzes, a headline grabs you, you feel rage, you share it. You just did exactly what someone planned for you to do. Cognitive warfare is the attempt to shape how you perceive reality, who you trust, what you fear, and how you make decisions. And unlike any conflict you have seen before, you will never hear it coming, because it does not target your country. It targets you. Cognitive warfare is not propaganda with a new name. It is more precise. Ducluzel, 2020, describes it as the weaponization of public opinion, an approach that goes beyond manipulating information to degrading a society's actual capacity to think critically and make decisions. NATO's Allied Command Transformation, 2023, defines it as activity designed to influence, protect, or disrupt cognition at the individual, group, or population level in order to shape attitudes and behaviors. Cyber warfare targets your hardware. Information warfare targets data. Cognitive warfare targets you, the human operator. And Marsili, 2023, argues that what makes the current era distinct is AI, big data, and digital platforms building the environment where your thinking happens, shaping the room before you even walk in. But the ambition is older than any algorithm. Cognitive warfare did not begin with TikTok or deep fakes. Ivan Pavlov showed that a neutral signal, once paired with an automatic response, could trigger that response alone. A bell linked to food could produce salivation without the food ever appearing. Pavlov, 1927. In cognitive warfare, the bell is a slogan, a headline, a flag, a single word: traitor, terrorist, invader. The point is to trigger emotional reaction before reflection begins. Then came crowd psychology. Gustave Le Bon argued that crowds become suggestible, emotional, and easily directed. Freud extended this through group psychology, authority, identification, the emotional bond between leader and follower. Then Edward Bernays industrialized it. In Propaganda, Bernays, 1928, argued that the conscious manipulation of organized habits and opinions was a feature of democratic society, and that unseen persuaders could engineer public consent at scale. Hannah Arendt, 1951, in The Origins of Totalitarianism, took this further. Totalitarian movements do not merely lie. They construct an entire alternative world, a lying world of consistency, where every fact bends into one ideological pattern. And Arendt understood the role of loneliness. Isolated people, cut off from shared meaning and common reality, become more vulnerable to movements offering certainty, belonging, and an enemy. In the post-war 1950s, Solomon Asch showed how easily people could conform to a group, even when the group was obviously wrong. His experiments mattered because they revealed that social pressure can distort not only what people say, but what they are willing to trust in their own perception. Matthias Desmet, 2022, calls this mass formation, a process where anxiety, loneliness, meaninglessness, and frustration attach themselves to a single emotionally satisfying narrative. His model is debated, but the warning is clear. Anxious societies are easier to organize around simple explanations. Cognitive warfare does not insert ideas into empty heads. It finds existing fear, grievance, humiliation, and longing, and gives them a target. Giannopoulos et al., 2021, describe cognitive warfare as a three-step loop. First, adversaries harvest data on your habits, fears, and political leanings. Second, they inject a tailored narrative designed to divide. Third, they wait, because you do the rest yourself. Bell, 2022, makes the critical point. Cognitive warfare uses your own cognitive architecture against you. You are not fed a lie. You are nudged to a conclusion you believe you reached yourself. The NATO Innovation Hub 2021 identifies 5 systems under attack. Attention. Flood people with information, outrage, crisis, and spectacle until they can no longer distinguish signal from noise. Emotion, fear, anger, disgust, and moral outrage bypass slow thinking. Brady and colleagues found that moral emotional language increases the spread of political content online. Identity. Turn every issue into us versus them. Once identity activates, evidence becomes tribal. Rothje, Van Bavel, and von der Linden, 2021, found that outgroup animosity strongly drives social media engagement. Memory. Repeat a claim until familiarity feels like truth. The NATO Innovation Hub 2021 confirms this is the illusory truth effect, deliberately deployed at scale. Trust. Destroy trust in institutions, experts, media, neighbors, and even the possibility of truth itself. When trust collapses, people become easier to steer. Gittin, 2025, drawing on 7 years of military-civilian research, summarizes this as a process moving from decision-making superposition, where multiple views coexist, to cognitive collapse into a single narrative triggered by emotional or informational shock. Cognitive warfare does not always need you to believe one lie. Sometimes it only needs you to believe that nothing is knowable. Cognitive warfare works because it exploits the shortcuts your brain uses to survive. 3 in particular. 1. Emotion overrides logic. Kahneman, 2011, in Thinking Fast and Slow, describes the conflict between System 1, fast, emotional, automatic, and System 2, slow, deliberate, analytical. When you feel fear or rage, System 2 shuts down. You share before you verify. You react before you reflect. Cognitive warfare keeps you in System 1 permanently. 2. Identity beats accuracy. Van Bavel and Pereira, 2018, in Trends in Cognitive Sciences, show that in polarized environments, your need to belong to your group overrides your need to be correct. You will share information you know is questionable if it defends your side. Tajfel and Turner, 1979, established decades earlier that in-group, out-group dynamics run deep in human social psychology. Cognitive warfare weaponizes that depth. 3. Repetition becomes truth. Pennycook et al., 2021, found that repeated exposure to false claims increases their perceived accuracy, regardless of intelligence or political affiliation. The illusory truth effect does not discriminate. Adversaries flood platforms with the same narrative across hundreds of accounts precisely because repetition does the work that evidence cannot. Then came the digital turn, and the ambition became operational. Kosinski, Stilwell, and Grapel, 2013, publishing in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, showed that Facebook likes could predict sensitive personal traits, including personality, political views, and other private attributes with significant accuracy. Cambridge Analytica took that logic further. Its promise was to identify the persuadables, people psychologically open to influence, and target them with messages tuned to fear, anger, identity, or aspiration. The ICO, 2018, investigated how data harvested through Alexander Kogan's app was used in political campaigns on both sides of the Atlantic. We should be careful here. Nature 2018 reported that the scientific basis for Cambridge Analytica's psychographic claims was contested. It may have exaggerated its own power, but that is not the point. The ambition was real. Convert digital behavior into psychological profile. Convert psychological profile into vulnerability. Convert vulnerability into targeted perception management. Old propaganda addressed the crowd as a mass. Digital cognitive warfare breaks the crowd into millions of individual profiles. Each receives its own version of reality. And this logic does not only appear in politics, it appears inside organizations. Modern workplaces use psychometric testing, personality profiling, behavioral assessments, and AI-assisted hiring tools. PsyOps Principles 2018 emphasize that employment tests need proper validation for the specific selection context. But Pittenger 2005 in Consulting Psychology Journal warns against making strong inferences from type labels. Take Myers-Briggs. which even its own publisher says should not be used for hiring decisions. The risk is that description becomes prescription. You are introverted. You are not leadership material. You are not culture fit. The label shapes the opportunity. Classify the person, predict the person, nudge the person, manage the person. The logic of cognitive warfare and the logic of corporate psychometrics are closer than most people want to admit. Wardle and Dirakshan, 2017, writing for the Council of Europe, make a crucial observation. The goal of modern disinformation is often not to make you believe one specific thing. It is to make you doubt everything. Total confusion is the objective. Here are 7 signs you are inside a cognitive warfare operation. 1. Emotional hijacking. Content that makes you instantly furious, terrified, or smug, with very simple villains and heroes. That is a designed response, not an organic one. 2. False dichotomy. Every issue presented as having exactly 2 extreme positions, no middle ground, no nuance. That is tribalism bait. 3. Repetition without origin. The same claim appearing across dozens of accounts, but all roads lead back to one weak or untraceable source. 4. Forced urgency. Pressure to share before you check. Speed is a weapon. Your pause is a defense. 5. Coordinated flooding. A sudden wave of near-identical angry comments hitting a single narrative simultaneously. Benkler, Ferris, and Roberts, 2018, call this network propaganda, drowning reliable information in manufactured noise. 6. Collapse of nuance. Any expression of doubt or complexity treated as disloyalty or cowardice. When doubt feels like betrayal, you have been pushed into a closed system. 7. Source laundering. Rumors passed from anonymous accounts to influencers to journalists, until an untraceable claim looks like established fact. You are not just the audience, you are the distribution system. You cannot stop cognitive warfare from being launched. You can stop it from working on you. Slow down deliberately. Cognitive warfare depends on speed. Your friction is your protection. Kahneman, 2011, is direct. Recognizing that you are in a heightened emotional state is the first step to re-engaging System 2. Set a personal rule. Do not share anything that made you outraged within 10 seconds of reading it for at least 3 hours. You ask the accuracy question, is this true? How would I know? Pennycook et al., 2020, showed this prompt lifts your discernment by 20 percentage points. You share fewer false claims because you pause to think. You still face a harder truth. Trusted authorities, governments, health bodies, media, sometimes withhold data, spin findings, or label dissent misinformation to protect political or commercial interests. When alternative analyses get suppressed, you cannot verify what you never see. You reach wrong conclusions not because you failed to check, but because the information pool was curated. You were not told the full rationale at the time. You can adapt your accuracy habit. Ask the prompt, then ask, what evidence might be missing? Who benefits if I stop questioning? Spend 60 seconds searching beyond the first result. Try a university research center, a parliamentary briefing, or an independent fact-checker like Full Fact. You will not uncover every manipulation, but you widen your view. Pre-bunk, not just debunk. Rosenbeek, van der Linden, and Nygren, 2020, in the Harvard Kennedy School Misinformation Review, show that inoculation-style interventions, exposing people to manipulation techniques before they encounter real disinformation, reduce susceptibility across cultures. Their tool Bad News lets you practice spotting these techniques in a safe environment. It is free. Use it this week. Van der Linden, 2023, confirms that text and video inoculation remains effective for up to 1 month. Return to this material regularly and the protection compounds. Build epistemic humility. Van der Heijden, 2021, argues that resilience against cognitive warfare requires accepting that your individual knowledge is limited and fallible. hold conclusions loosely. Kortelling, 2023, in a TNO research report, recommends training yourself to ask 3 questions of any emotionally charged narrative. Who benefits if I believe this? What action does this push me towards? What evidence is missing? Diversify your information environment deliberately. Follow 3 sources with different institutional incentives and compare their framing of the same event each week. Look to Finland. Media literacy is embedded in the Finnish national curriculum from primary school. Finland Toolbox 2024. As a result, 76% of Finns trust news media, compared to 7% of Americans who fully trust traditional media. Brennan 2022, Newman et al. 2023. What you teach early, you protect for life. Cognitive warfare works by turning the human need for meaning, belonging, certainty, and safety into a weapon. The roots go back to Pavlov's bell, Bernay's press releases, and Arendt's isolated citizens. The tools are now algorithmic. The psychology is the same. The answer is not blind trust in authority, and it is not paranoid distrust of everything. The answer is disciplined awareness, slow thinking, emotional regulation, source checking, and the refusal to surrender your humanity to an outrage machine. Because in cognitive warfare, the first territory to defend is not a border, it is your own mind.